Alright, today I'm gonna be doing another build video on Garuda Prime to be exact. And I already made a Garuda Prime build previously, but I have since updated it with a significantly better build, mostly because I recalled the existence of a certain arcane that lets this build work significantly better. And I don't need gloom for it, or even I don't need any. I don't actually need any form of healing for it, even, which makes it outrageously good. Because you have with this build, you basically have infinite energy at all times, no matter what you're doing. And that I'm dying. All right. Alright, yeah, no, then the reason that this build, is so much better is because of Molt Reconstruct. Because, yeah, every time you spend one energy, that one energy, you get healed for 6 health. And that, if I remember correctly, that does take into consideration efficiency, so whenever you use a 4, that's 155 energy, which is being multiplied by 6, so it's like 750 energy, something. I don't feel like doing math. So it's like effectively, so basically, if you ever use even just a single one of her abilities, like even Dread Mirror, like 38 times 6, it's basically will take her straight to full health. And that's good because 3 turns of health straight into energy, so I'll just show this bit off here. You just use your 3 twice, and then now you have 588 energy, and then I press 4 and I'm back to full health, and I can just press 3 2 more times, and then all of a sudden I have 4 energy. And now I have 4 health and basically 4 energy, and I can just keep doing that forever without needing literally any energy orbs or health orbs or any healing abilities or literally anything. So with this, she has literally infinite energy. And then technically, she doesn't even need any subsume ability at all here. It's just Nourish is insanely good on her. Because Nourish is the energy multiplier on it. However that works again. Yeah, the energy multiplier with my current power strength is at 2.37, and that does work with bloodletting. So that means if you use Nourish and you press bloodletting once, all of a sudden you get 600 energy, and then you press it again, and now you're at 4 energy. And then I can just press Nourish again to get my health back up to 4. And I can just keep doing this forever, basically, if you for some reason want to do that. But Nourish also has a nice bonus of adding viral damage to all of your attacks, which includes the explosion from the Dread Mirror, from the Dread Mirror heart when she throws it, and also the talons when she shoots those out. But yeah, I also have Mortal Augmented on here just for more power strength, because more power strength. It does make this build better technically, even though she would be just fine on 140% power strength, because literally the only thing she actually needs power strength for is to get the slash status chance to 100% on this ability, and I'm pretty sure like 140 power strength is all you need for that. Might even be lower. Actually, yeah, because I also have 3 Tau Forged ability strength surge on her, so yeah, but yeah, as you can see, with just 145, it's already at 100%. But yeah, so the main thing you really want to build on her, since efficiency doesn't matter and duration, you do want at least base duration, because otherwise the duration on her 4 will be pretty short, although even if this was 5 seconds, that would pretty much like never actually matter anyways, but it would still be more annoying. It's it's mostly useful for nurse, so you don't have to cast this every like 12 seconds. But otherwise, duration does affect the, well, duration of her shield, but her shield also basically plays no part into her survivability. Like, basically 95% of her survivability comes from the fact that whenever she uses her 4 or her 1, and also Blood Altar if you haven't helmethed over it, she gets like I think like 2 seconds of invincibility or something every single time she uses her 4 or her 1, or again Bloodletting if it was heal. And then of course I also got Brief Respite on, so every time I spend any energy, which in this case Brief Respite does also scale with efficiency, so it's 155 energy being multiplied by 1.5, so that's like, and again, I don't feel like doing math, so I was able to say it's 200 shields you get back, even though the amount of shields doesn't actually really matter, it's just that you get any shields at all back. Yes, so in other words, if you use a... so in other words, if your shield ever breaks, you just use a 4, usually, because you don't need to have an enemy to use it, and then you get 2 seconds of invincibility the instant you press the button, and then you also get shield back from Brief Respite, and so by the time the invincibility from this ability wears off, your shield will have already started regenerating. Then if your shield gets broke again, well, you will usually have at least like a single second of invulnerability, which again is enough time for you to use your 4 and your other abilities to get the innate invulnerability from them, plus the shield they'll give you back, making you effectively unkillable, especially since he has literally infinite energy. So you basically never, so as long as you're spamming the shit out of her abilities, you basically never have to worry about dying. That's right, yeah, her 4 also stunned enemies. Oh yeah, and as you can see, every time my shield breaks, I just make sure I use an ability. And then I also have my Sentinel with the revive one, which, yeah, obviously it's not really going to work when those aren't any allies around. But that's why I have Unao on here. Probably not going to be able to kill these enemies, but... Although I don't know why they weren't damaging me. But yeah. Actually, I guess I'll talk about my Sentinel. Since... Sentinel, basically all you want your Sentinel to do for Garuda Prime is just make her as hard to kill as possible, since you're not really going to be benefiting from like any damage whatsoever from your Sentinel, because Garuda's just going to be killing literally everything herself. And also, there's no reason to have Helios Prime over Worm Prime, besides scanning enemies, which is why I have him on here. But as far as Sentinels go, Worm Prime would be much better, and there's probably other Sentinels that are actually better than this one for keeping Warframe alive, but I don't really research the Sentinels very much. But yeah, as you can see, I would even have a Garuda build, although, yeah, right, I have not messed with this since the updates on... See, yeah, that would have been 5 days ago on October 2nd. Or was it 3rd? I don't actually remember. But yeah, regardless, I haven't updated this since they updated the companions. Yeah, they should have reinforced bond on it, and... I don't know what other mod I would have had on here. Well, actually, no. You probably don't even want reinforced bond on this, because you're basically never going to be shooting your weapons at all with Garuda. So you're not really going to be, because you're just going to be killing everything with the abilities, and all this does is it gives you more fire rate, but it also. No wait, okay. I don't know why the respawn timer went up when I put that on. I was gonna say, I don't remember this increasing that, but... Yeah, wait. Yeah, primed regen, and then... Yeah, pretty much the only reason you'd want to use one prime primarily is because it has a lot higher base shield, which is enough to allow you to get Reinforced Bond active with just the shield mod, and then I do have Aerial Bond on here, but Aerial Bond I found out doesn't actually work with Garuda's abilities, unfortunately. So because mostly when you you'll tend to be in the air a lot when you're using her abilities. I don't have a 1-up right now for enemies, but I figured that if you killed enemies while you were in the air like this, that it would count for reducing the companion's respawn timer, but it does not, unfortunately. So that doesn't actually really do anything. But yeah, pretty much all you'd want your pet to exist for is just have sacrifice, have regen, and then and also Guardian to make it like basically as hard as possible for you to ever be killed. And of course, then you definitely also want Tenacious Spawn, because I mean, if you do ever decide to fire your weapon, this is good, but it also lets you reduce the respawn timer much easier. I think there was one. If you want your companion survivability to be high, you could also throw accelerated deflection on. But I don't feel like formatting it. Actually, yeah, you should probably... Actually, Momentous Bond would be better because you're going to be killing Xmas enemies pretty easily and also frequently, so... This will basically just immediately let your Sentinel respawn. Now, and then for the weapon, of course, you just want any weapon that can get it to over, like... was like 75% crit chance or whatever. But yeah, you also don't want any of the attack precepts on here. Yeah, because if you put this on, it will attack enemies, and that'll make enemies target it significantly more. But if it never attacks enemies, enemies will almost never bother shooting at it. Pretty much it will only ever take damage if it just happens to get hit by AoEs or just stray bullets. And sometimes if you die, but usually when you're in a multiplayer mission and you go down, the enemies won't even bother targeting it. So you'll just get a free revive from it as well. And, yeah, as far as actual companions go, I haven't really looked at these since the update. Or how they add what would be good for Garuda since the update, but Panzer one would probably be the best one. Again, in terms of just keeping your Warframe alive for as long as feasibly possible. I don't know which one of these builds would be the most effective. Probably this one. But yeah, pretty much the only thing you'd really want with... Actually, I don't even think I have a build, and I also don't have any room because I have, like, 2 of these builds are dedicated to Baruch builds. This is the general use one, which... Right, yeah, their bite got taken out. I'll throw that on there. But yeah, the ones you would want on this would be... I mean, Viral Crows, you obviously always want that, but yeah, it's Mother Symbiosis, because that way if you ever... Although I think Mother Symbiosis actually kind of has anti-synergy with this, because yeah, if your health falls below 10%, which it's going to be doing every time you do this, your companion will immediately try to like effectively revive you. So that unfortunately doesn't actually work with her very well. But if that worked only when you went down, that would be great. So actually, probably the best one would be this one, which I forget exists because it has transfusion. I have no idea what the cooldown on this actually is though, but yeah. But now that I've rambled for like 6 minutes on nothing, yeah. Just to recap, basically the only thing you want your Sentinel to do is just be capable of keeping your Warframe alive for as for as long as possible. That's why I forgot I did have a Garuda build for this actually. Yeah, basically you just want Sacrifice, Primed Regen, Guardian, then obviously you want Vacuum and the other basically mandatory mods. Then every single mod on this should be dedicated to making you as survivable as possible, and then it should be dedicated to making the Sentinel as survivable as possible, which is why I got Accelerated Deflection on. And of course he got the Volklock for, is it Momentous? No, it's Tenacious Bond. Alright, now I can actually go back to talking about the build. Yeah, so what you really want to build Garuda for is just the maximum range possible. As I said before, you want a minimum strength of like 140%, and once you have that, you just put everything else in the range, and then basically nothing else really matters. Now, I have a Umbral, I put an Umbral form on here, but the Umbral form is not necessary at all. You just have to form over like 2 more slots to be able to get Umbral Intensify in here without a former, but Garuda is my favorite warframe, so I used a former on her, just to get the maximum strength possible. But yeah, max range, high strength, and then I'll talk about this build specifically after I show this one off. Trying to think, yeah, and as far as shards go, I got the 3 Tower Forge Strength shards. And then these ones are actually very important. It's the casting speed ones, because otherwise most of the abilities actually have a really, really long animation when you're using them. And as far as weapons go, these don't matter at all since we're not going to be using them. Although you will usually want a weapon with really high raw damage, like the Ladum, so in case you're like doing Steel Path or something, and Acolyte shows up, because her abilities just like they work on Acolytes, but they do like fuck all damage. So you're never gonna be able to kill an Acolyte with them, unfortunately, even though she can kill level cap enemies with her abilities. And then the focus score again doesn't really matter. The 2 I'd say are mandatory though is either Unaru or Madavai. Depending on if you have these 2 unbound, then Madavai is an option, but because that way if you do ever happen to go down, it's you can you can just kill a bunch of enemies around you and immediately get up. But in my testing, I found that it seemed like Unaru was actually better at killing enemies with Caustic Strike, because you can just strip all the armor off. And then you also, yeah, then with Unaru Wisp you also get a bit of a damage buff too. And I found that comparing that to the Void Strike, even though this is like a 1000% damage buff or something, I don't remember, and this damage buff also stacks with the Vengeance one, where your damage goes up, gets higher the longer you're dead for. Yeah, in my testing I found that I could kill enemies faster with almost stripping them as Unaru rather than using Void Strike with Madavai. But again, this is basically only matters if you actually die. But as Zenorek, there's literally no reason, because she has infinite energy, and you can get 20% extra power strength from this. But how do you do that when you can just, when Madavai just has this one, which gives you 40% just by dashing like 3 times in a row? Vazarin basically has no purpose, because really all Vazarin does is just that you regenerate, and it does have the Guardian Break ability, which is very good, but that doesn't really mean anything. Noamon's literally useless, and then for her, and then yeah. And I can talk about her claws, which is a unique thing actually. Yeah, because if she doesn't have any melee weapon equipped, she uses her claws instead. Now claws really aren't very good at good weapons, unfortunately, even though the stats look very good. And this is a crit multiplier is its base one is 3.7 with the mod, but it's 4.9 because I have Tenacious Bond on the Sentinel. But yeah, I built these claws to deal with Eximus units or overshielded units specifically, because previously when I did my last build video on this, Garuda couldn't target Eximus enemies with her 1, but when I took her into the Steel Path circuit yesterday and recorded that video, actually, I discovered that she can target Eximus units with her 1 now. I don't know if that was just a glitch doing that, or if that she can just do that now, so actually let me just test this now. Maybe it was a fluke. Nope, she can target Eximus units with this now, so her claws don't even really matter. But yeah, the reason I put magnetic on them is because as of the update that made all of the status effects work differently. Magnetic does bonus damage against shields, but it also does bonus damage against overshields or overguard now. So that's why I put magnetic on this, and then these are just basically just getting slash as high as possible. But yeah, as far as melee weapons go, her talons are actually like really bad compared to just most of the weapons, especially like the Cronin Prime. Although I basically don't use haven't used any melee weapon for actual combat in like ever since they made primary weapons good. I've basically stopped using melee weapons, so all my melee builds are bad and outdated. But yeah, I think that's everything, so I can now actually show you why this build is so good. We just spawn me usual weapon heavy gunners. Oops. Now turn the AI off. And this is how a build goes. You just press 1 on an enemy, grab the health, then press 4, and then hold 1 and release it, and then everything dies. Yeah, it's a very good. And the reason everything dies so easily is because her 1, especially with this much power strength, it siphons, or depending on how much health an enemy has, the more damage that this will pull out of them, because as you can see, the damage capture multiplier is its base of 2, but it scales with power strength. So it's 4.5. So in other words, it takes. I don't remember. I don't actually know the actual numbers, but but whenever you jump on an enemy, I think it just like multiplies the health by like 4.5 times, then puts it into the orb above her head, and then that orb does impact damage on enemies, but actually show you something. I mean, I guess I could use this because this does work well enough. I'm gonna pause it. Oops. Yeah, because see, if I jump onto a butcher, for example, well, very low health and whatnot, I only get 44,000 damage. But if I jump onto a gunner, I get 300,000. And now, if I hold it, I can double its damage every, like, 5 seconds for energy. And then, even though that only does impact damage, every single enemy still died. So in other words, you don't even actually need to use her for really, as long as the enemies have high enough health. Yeah. Yeah, so again, what you want to do is just get your energy maxed up, and then usually you want to try and find whichever enemy has the highest health. Just press 1 on them, and then get as close to the center as you can, press 4, and then hold 1, and then release it, then, you know, everything's dead. So yeah, I did forget to talk about this here. Yeah, the fast deflection mod is just to make it much even easier for her to make use of shield gating in conjunction with her abilities. But yeah, blending talons is the mod that you want on. That you don't need, but it makes the build significantly more comfortable and better to use. Because instead of how a 4 works, like, because normally you would have to press L4 and it would come up with this, and then it would only hit enemies within that cone in front of you. But now you can just tap it and it works in a 360-degree radius that scales with range. Unfortunately its base is only 9 meters, so even with max range it's only 25 meters, and the range of her one is 28 meters. That's when it explodes. Which is a 28 meter wide explosion that does not have line of sight problems. Unlike Nova's antimatter drop. Yeah, so I can show that off real quick, actually. Because normally antimatter drop will do nothing here, but since this doesn't have line of sight issues, it hits all the enemies that were within range. Actually, which was literally all of them. So that's another reason why this build is really, really good, because you don't have to worry about a Nuke getting blocked by a fucking paperclip on a table somewhere. Oh yeah, I guess, yeah, Argovitas also has the, you technically don't even need Brief Respite, because the 40% energy from Argovita alone is enough to allow her to infinitely shield gate. But this just makes it easier, and there's not really any other ore mods that do anything special for Cursor Projections. Literally useless, because she just one-shots enemies regardless of how much armor they have. Especially ever since they nerfed armor. And she doesn't need health or energy, so those are useless. She doesn't use weapons, so these are useless. Yeah. Unironically, enemy radar is probably the most useful one here. So that way you can see enemies further away on the minimap. But yeah, I'm trying to think, there's one more thing I think I wanted to show off. Oh, actually, yeah, I guess I could show this off. Yeah, it is also worth noting that, with Nourish on the Mixer 4 also do viral damage now, on top of the Slash. Yeah, this doesn't really show up against these enemies, but yeah, if this is against just like regular fodder enemies, she can actually just flat out kill enemies with her 4 in a big radius sometimes. And maybe, I guess it's not doing as much damage here as I remember it doing, but maybe it's only one of them in the team that it seems to do good. You can also spam it though. But now I'll get on to my other build that's slightly more special. This one's it's basically just the same, but it has slightly less range in order to make it work, because this build it's basically the same, because I still have Blending Talons, but I have the Dreadwort augment on. And this is for the, I made this build specifically for a problem I was having in the Steel Path circuit when I was getting to level 5,000 enemies. And the alchemy game mode came up, because for that game mode you have to pick the things up off the ground, but doing that locks you into a 1-second animation, which and during that animation you can't use any of her abilities to give her any invulnerability. So I found that whenever I want to pick one of the items up, her shield would immediately break, and I would get very, very close to getting killed, and well, I actually would get downed quite frequently by the enemies. whenever I want to pick up an enemy because the invulnerability from her abilities doesn't really last long enough to let you pick up an item without taking damage. And so yeah, so this build was made exclusively because of that game mode, but this is just like straight up better in Circuit than this build is. Because of Dreadwood. And the way this one works is whenever you kill an enemy by jumping on them with a 1, which only works if they're below 40% health, the enemy instantly dies once she leaps on them. And then that gives her 8 seconds at base of being... It's not invulnerability because she can still take damage, but with this active, her health can never drop below 2 for as long as it's active. And this does scale with duration as well, so it's 14 seconds, which is why the duration is so much higher here. And the efficiency is only higher because like I don't have any mod on here that do it. Although I guess you could drop Umbral Intensify for Blind Rage, but you have to figure out how to... You could fit that in with more Forma, and that's pretty much it, though. Yeah, there's nowhere else I could drop this in here without having to... If I Forma'd over this one and this one, I could maybe, just maybe fit this on here. So yeah, this would cost 18, so... Yeah, I think if I Forma'd over these two, and well, also... This one's also just a free one, because this one's always going to be Cunning Drift on every single build. At least for me. But yeah, so yeah, for this build, it's just the same one as Dreadwood, but with... This one does technically not meet the base requirement for strength, but with Mode Augmented, by the time you kill like 20 enemies, this will be at 100%, and you're basically not going to notice that missing 4%. Anyways. But yeah, other than that, literally everything else about this build is the same. And I'll show you how Dreadwood works. Sorry, they already spawned. No, Dreadwood can be kind of tedious to activate because you need an enemy that's not dead. Oh, you're getting down can still be kind of dangerous. Alright, there, I got Dreadwood active now, so as you can see, enemies can't kill me for this whole duration right here. I can just do this, and then, you know, let's charge this nuclear bomb up, and then, you know, everyone who was within range is dead. He must have... One must have ran out. But yeah, that's pretty much how this build works. And it's also... This build is also nice because even though the power strength is lower, this build is made to like only ever really be used in Circuit, and with all of the whatever the rogue like buffs are that I can't remember the name of, but yeah, with all of those, they usually you end up getting to getting to well over 200% power strength just from the abilities you choose. So the low power strength matters even less there. And then this one is just a meme one I was doing with Breach Surge, which I think technically still works, although I think they nerfed it like about a year ago. Because this one lets you double dip with Breach Surge. As you use Breach Surge and then press 4, and then if you... And then now you just kind of wait. And the reason that works is because Breach Surge multiplies any damage the enemies take by 2, but in this case 3.68. And then that is multiplied as those little beam things that shoot out of enemies' heads, and then they get tracked into, and then they track into another enemy. And but since her fall makes enemies constantly take damage, slash damage every second, that causes beams to shoot out of their heads that will hit other enemies. And then since those enemies, since the way this works is whenever an enemy takes damage, there's a 100% chance of all that damage being converted into a slash proc. So in other words, if this does a 100 slash damage proc, it will be multiplied into 300 by this, and it will shoot out and hit another enemy, which will then, and then that enemy will then get hit with a 300 slash damage proc because of the slash status chance this has. And then that will turn into like a 900 damage slash proc. That'll hit another enemy with this on, and then that will cause them to take 900 slash damage, and then that will be multiplied by 3 again for what is that? Yeah, like 2700 slash damage, and then that keeps ramping up. But if you shoot an enemy, that causes it to go up significantly faster, because then 100% of the damage you shoot them with will be converted into slash damage, and that'll come out as like 100,000 slash damage proc, and then whatever enemy that hits will get hit with 100,000 slash damage proc and just die instantly, and then they will shoot out a couple more of those beams that do 300,000 slash damage, and they will hit more enemies, and those enemies will get hit by 300,000 slash damage and die. But mostly just a meme build, because the kills per minute of this build are going to be significantly lower than this build. And this one also requires you to basically be in one place, because while Beach Surge has a massive radius, Seeking Talons is like exactly half of it, so it's a pain in the ass. And then this build is just the same as this one, mostly as the OG and newish one, but this one has fast deflection and also catalyzing shields, because the idea behind this one was that it's just this one, but this one's more survivable. Because on this one, since you only have 74 shields, using any of her abilities at all will instantly give her the full 1.3 seconds of shield break and vulnerability. And this was my old Gloom build I did a video on, but this build is just flat out worse than the newest one. And now with this one I can show you just why. This is the big reason why I really like Garuda so much, is because even with literally zero mod on whatsoever, she can still kill these level 185 enemies. Let me just make it as hard as possible for me. So he's definitely not going to be killing them as easily. The biggest problem with this one is that you have to hold her for. Alright, yeah, see, this one's a bit more tricky to survive with, but as you can see, my Sentinel survives me anyways. The biggest problem with this one is the extreme lack of range. And also no energy storage. But yeah, as you can see, even though I'm still dying, like half the enemies have already died. Let's see if I can revive myself. Couldn't manage it. But yeah, this would. Yeah, for example, if I just put. Nope. I just put Blending Talons on this one, so I could use this as an AoE instead of having to do the or charge up thing. killing enemies will be significantly easier. Yeah, and as you can see, pretty much all of them are already dead. Yep. As you can see, with the only mod on her whatsoever being one that has literally zero effect on any of her stats, it just makes her easier to use. So you can still kill level 185 Steel Path Heavy Gunners with literally zero mods whatsoever. I do also want to point out that if these enemies were level 9,999, you would literally not be able to tell the difference, because her one, since it siphons the enemy's health, and level 9,999 enemies have significantly more health than level 185 enemies, which means it would be doing significantly more damage as well. So it like literally does not matter what level the enemies are, her abilities will always kill them. In fact, it's actually better. She's actually much better against like level 100 enemies than she is against level 10 enemies, because like level 10 enemies will just die to her 4, which I can actually kind of show that here, because I feel like it. Let's see, enemy level. I mean, I don't know why I'd ever be fighting level 10 enemies, so let's be slightly more reasonable and say 25. Just press 4 these. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely nice being able to press 4 and just kill literally everything. Yeah, so if you're using this in low level content, you don't even need to bother using your 1, just get nourished on so your 4 does viral damage, then press 4, and then every enemy will just die in that 25 meter radius it has. I think that's everything for this build. I think this pretty sure this video is already like almost 50 minutes long, which is like twice as long as it really should have been, but oh well. I'm not a Warframe creator, I'm just someone who felt like making a build video. Yeah, it's everything. I guess I can show off if our claws are even capable of killing anything. Granted, these do have magnetic on, and magnetic's obviously going to be a lot less effective against enemies without shields, but even still, this does mostly slash damage, so... Now, if I hit them with my 4, this will... You know, all of a sudden they start taking significantly more damage. Yeah, heavy attacks are obviously going to kill enemies because it does, like, they get 50,000 guaranteed slash damage, but yeah, as you can see, her talons are really not made to be able to kill enemies, like, at all. Yeah, it's everything. I mean, I guess I can show off her what my appearance settings are. If you couldn't tell, I really like black, white, and gold. This is why like 90% of my Warframes have that exact color scheme. And I would have a deluxe skin, but I do not like a deluxe skin because I like my Warframes looking sleek and not just like not all lumpy like the deluxe skin does. Yeah, so I just chose this 10 gen skin that I really like. And attachments, since this was I actually bought her from the Prime bundle. So I got all the limited Prime accessories that come with this, and of course I'm using those on her because they fit her very well. And I also basically never use chest armor on any Warframe because I feel like they always stick out like way too far. from the chest to look good, and because it looks like it's barely even attached to her. So I just don't like it. And as the signals go, I found that the Envine one looks the best. The Ember one, if it is way too big. This one's cool, but it doesn't look like a crown like this one does. And then this one's a contender for second place, and then this one's way too glowy for her. And then this one kind of has the same problem that this one does. Oh yeah, and I also don't have any Syndanas on her because I couldn't find any of the any Syndana that doesn't like make her look too bulky. This is the only one that I was considering putting on her. Every other one that I own just kind of like covers up too much and doesn't really fit. Yeah, I think, yeah, but that's everything. And her claw's appearance is just the same as the rest of her. Right, well, that's where I'm gonna end this video. Right, well, this is my new Garuda Prime video. That's probably like 50 minutes long by now. But oh well. Yeah, this is the end.